Dear humanity, we regret being alien bastards. We regret coming to Earth. And we most definitely regret the Corps just blew up our raggedy-ass fleet. Hoorah!
After looking back at Halo Combat Evolved from the eyes of someone in the early 2000s, one has to ask, how do you do it again? How were you supposed to follow up on a game with some of the most fun action, set pieces, and music? Bungie decided the answer to that was to make the music better, the set pieces more grand, and tightening up the action to a fine-tuned dance. They added more guns, more vehicles, a whole new playable character, a storyline that is so focused, yet so broad, you can waste an entire evening on watching Halo 2 lore videos. Ask me how I know. Halo 2 is a triumph of game development, and while I understand there was plenty of difficulties in the creation of this game, the entire time I was replaying it, I felt the love the developers put into it, because despite all the changes and difficulties, Halo 2 maintains the core feeling and character that Combat Evolved has. The priority of fun and enjoyment are present as the Master Chief and the Arbiter blast their way through Earth, space, and of course, another Halo installation. It's just so refreshing to play a game that wants you to have fun and show you a good time. I'm not much of a games these days suck kind of guy, but there is a night and day difference in this era of gaming versus nowadays, and replaying Halo 2 was a much needed reference to put against modern games. Halo 2 is fun, gorgeous to look at in both graphics modes, isn't buggy or janky, and delivers some good old-fashioned escapism. Believe it or not, 20 years later and some AAA developers still can't get all of those milestones into a single game. Today, we're going to explore this game, so don your cloaking and activate your energy sword as we dive feet first into Halo 2. Halo 2's opening hours are incredible at setting the tone for the rest of the game. I'm a smooth-brained knuckle-dragger, and even I can see the literary juxtaposition between Master Chief and Sergeant Johnson being praised and awarded, while at the same time our new character, the Arbiter, is punished for his sin of failing to protect the Halo from the first game. He's deemed a traitor and must be punished, while Chief is hailed as a hero. Even Johnson says, the people need a hero, while Tartarus, the evil monkey guy, says they need an example for those who break the Covenant. While Johnson receives a medal on his chest, the Arbiter receives a brand instead, a mark of judgment forever seared onto his flesh, proclaiming that no honor shall ever be bestowed upon him ever again. There's no time for Chief to linger in his celebration as the Covenant arrive at Earth, directly in line of the largest orbital defense grid the humans have constructed. However, something is wrong. As Lord Hood states, this fleet is tiny compared to an actual invasion force. Soon, the defense platform we are on is boarded, and Master Chief says his classic line, "I need a weapon." I've mentioned before how Halo 2 encourages the players to have fun. Well, on the box art for this game is the Chief holding 2 submachine guns. The very first weapon you can choose is the submachine gun, and seeing the prompt to dual wield pop up is so powerful. Seeing the Chief reload 2 weapons at once is such a delight, and releasing 2 full magazines at an elite to melt away his health is such a power trip. The Covenant weapons, and later the Brute variants, being mixed and matched with human weapons opens the game up to so much experimentation. I know that there are certain meta strategies that hardcore players like to follow, but you can't deny how fun it is to charge 2 plasma pistols up all the way and releasing them on a poor little grunt. Or letting 2 needlers unload on an elite, painting him in crystal pink shortly before painting the walls near him whatever color his insides are. After fighting through the Cairo station, we discover the Covenant have placed a bomb on board. We find out by watching 2 nearby stations explode after the Covenant retreat. Watching these basically invincible floating citadels get destroyed in an instant is scary, and we're next on the list. Now, it's a race against time to find the bomb and defuse it. On our way to the bomb's location, we take a shortcut through literal space, fighting a new type of enemy, these floating elites. I love that this is the first playable chapter, and the game is already shaking things up by putting us in reduced gravity with new enemies. No time wasted at all. We find the bomb and deactivate it at the last second. What happens next lives deep in many people's inner soul, especially mine. Master Chief, the hero that he is, literally Amazon overnight delivers the bomb back to the Covenant cruiser through space and detonates it, destroying the entire ship. The in amber clad, here we go with these cool names again, catches him, and it's onto the surface because one cruiser made a beeline through the defenses to land in one specific spot, and it's our job to stop them and save Earth. Real quick here, if you're having fun, please hit that like and subscribe button for more videos like this one. Hurricane Beryl completely turned my world upside down as I write this, and I could use some love from my viewers and subscribers. Thanks again. Back to the video. Just like in my previous Halo vid, you'll see me constantly bouncing between the graphics options. That's because the difference in this game is way more noticeable compared to Combat Evolved, in my opinion. There are some places that have dramatic differences, like check out this little jungle path in either editions. It goes from a simple little corridor to a stylized jungle trail. Some of the skyboxes change quite a bit, but the real meat of the graphics options are definitely the cutscenes, the lighting, and the other moment-to-moment gameplay visual adjustments. What I find this time around is the tone remains relatively the same, whereas Combat Evolved lost a lot of atmosphere from the new graphics. Halo 2 actually has some places look better in the old version, and some places look better in the new version. I'm trying to put it into words, but I don't really have any strong opinions on the new versus old graphics options. Just bounce back and forth frequently to get the full scope. What I do have strong opinions about, however, is definitely the audio differences. Man, they did the Mac gun sound effects dirty in this new version. The new sounds for the SMGs have lost all personality. However, it's funny because in the new edition, the battle rifle actually sounds way better. This just shows that both editions have strengths and weaknesses, and I think bouncing back and forth doesn't really hurt the flow of the game or the immersion. Instead, I'd argue that using both options enhances the gameplay experience as you tune into the audio and visual even deeper. Back on Earth, we're shot down by a scarab, a mobile fortress, and tasked to take it down while repelling the alien invasion, which isn't really an invasion as the whole fleet is destroyed already and you're left with just one cruiser. The mission is reintroducing us to the vehicles, and I just have to say, with 100% confidence, the vehicles are a direct improvement over Halo Combat Evolved in every way. The first two vehicles it gives you is a choice between a Ghost or a fully staffed Warthog. The Warthog is its same old self with the benefit of now being drivable by Marines, allowing you to man the gun. They're surprisingly decent at driving them too. The Covenant even got their own version of the Warthog in the form of the Spectre. I'll mention why I don't like the Spectre in more detail later, but this is kinda weird. We don't really need a Covenant Warthog. The Ghost is still amazing, except now the guns are optional as they added a battering ram mode to them. As I said in my previous video, please someone make a Halo vehicle combat game already. With the upgraded pedigree of the vehicle combat comes hijacking. Whoever thought of this, pitched it, and got it implemented into the game deserves way more money. I won't deny that the vehicles are definitely quick to be destroyed, but hopping out of one vehicle and violently commandeering another one is just so much fun. There's also something so humorous about angrily walking up to a tank and jumping on top just to beat the driver to death with your fist. Or, as a Ghost comes in to smash you with its front end, just hopping on board and kicking them off is such a fun way to counter an instant death. Hijacking adds an excellent situational tactic to your arsenal, or a goofy experience if it goes wrong. One of the more iconic missions in this game is our boy Sergeant Johnson gives us a Scorpion battle tank and tells us to cross a bridge while handling wave after wave of ghosts, banshees, and even a few wraiths there at the end. This mission genuinely makes you feel invincible, and the tank looks cool as can be in both graphics. While you're riding that high of feeling bulletproof, Halo 2 shows you what the Scarab can do, that it can wipe a Scorpion tank clean off the map in one strike. Halo Combat Evolved had some great moments that showed you the scale of things happening around you. And this Scarab slowly crawling on top of the wounded soldiers, towering over you as you fail to pierce its armor, reminds us the monumental threat the Covenant posed to humanity. So, as any hero would do, we jump on board and kill it from the inside out. Afterwards, the Covenant ship and the Prophet begin a slip space jump directly in the middle of the city, which is going to level the city. Miranda Keyes decides we're going to follow it through the portal and see where it ends up. Miranda doesn't fully live up to her father's on-screen prowess, but I definitely can give her props for having balls like her dad. Next, we hop on over to our new playable protagonist, the Arbiter. Keith David was born for 3 voice acting roles: Captain Anderson, Spawn, and the Arbiter. You cannot have picked a better voice actor if you tried. Keith perfectly encapsulates the sorrowful anguish the Arbiter feels in the first few chapters, and as we delve into his story, Keith perfectly fluctuates through anger, betrayal, and hope near the end. For now, the newly disgraced Arbiter receives an ultimatum: die a premature and ritualistic death at the hands of some council, or attempt to redeem his honor through becoming the Arbiter, a warrior who pledges their allegiance to the Hierarchs. A short way to explain it is the Hierarchs send Arbiters as a sort of spec op unit on basically suicide missions. Obviously, the Arbiter becomes the Arbiter. Wow, who would have thought? And our first suicide mission is to eliminate a cluster of heretics. At least that's what we think. There's about a mountain of lore in these next couple of chapters. Chief's missions are definitely a bit more run and gun power fantasy, while Arbiter's is more careful in its storytelling, and therefore requires a lot more listening and understanding of everything around you. I'll save the intricate details of the lore of the heretics to another YouTuber, but basically they were a large group of artifact retrieval covenant who happened upon our boy 343 Guilty Spark. Yeah, did anyone actually die on that first ring? Oh yeah, all my Marines. Oh well. Guilty Spark, also known as the Oracle, explains to this group that the Hierarchs have lied to them. The rings are not some religious constructs that will lead them into this great journey. Instead, the rings are weapons designed to kill off every biological thing the Flood can feed on. On the flip side, the heretics explain that the elites used to be a proud warrior race who have been neutered by the Hierarchs. Their history and culture have been almost completely erased, and even the slavish and suicidal Arbiters, in fact, used to be a title for a proud hero who would lead his people into victory with the blessings of his warriors underneath him. It's almost sad how far the elites have fallen, especially what happens later in the story. Arbiter's relationship with being an Arbiter shifts a lot through this game, as well as other Covenant members' view of him and his title. Watch the relationship between the Spec Op Commander and Arbiter shift from that of disdain to hopeful and mutual respect by the end credits. For now, the Arbiter achieves what he set out to do, but now he has a few questions and doubts. Back over to the Chief, we exit Slipspace only to discover another Halo. This time the Covenant are making a beeline to activate it, so there's no time to dilly-dally. First order of business is to kill the Prophet of Regret. This mission is beautiful. I really enjoy the lush vegetation, and the music on this level is excellent too. These Native American style ruins that are just wide enough for our battle tank to fit through is a standout. Not just that, but the flow of combat is varied here too. You have a rocket launcher section, sniping sections, running and gunning, defending a position, and vehicle sections. It's a little jarring sometimes, and this weird gondola ride to where the Prophet is hiding is kind of boring and out of place. But once you're inside the temple, it's a free-for-all as we race to the Prophet of Regret, where he menacingly sits there and tries to shoot us with orange lasers. For his sins, we pass judgment through our knuckles to his head. No, literally. We beat him to death with our fists. I don't know what else to say. Master Chief is just so cool and powerful. It's a neat idea to integrate melee and hijacking into a boss fight, even though it was harder to get to him than he was himself. Boss fights are weird in Halo 2. They all have gimmicks, and aside from the last boss, they die in a blink of an eye. That heretic leader I spoke about earlier, I killed him in 2 strikes from an energy sword. Yeah, sure, it's realistic given what I was fighting, but there had to have been another way to go about a confrontation like that. It's hard to criticize because boss fights are a welcome mechanic and a great way to end a chapter, but they were not Halo 2's strong suit. The lead up to the bosses is usually more fun than the boss itself. After Regret dies, we are gunned down into the bottom of the ocean, where we would have died if not for a sus looking tentacle dragging us further down. We move back to our boy the Arbiter. As I spoke earlier, the elites have already had their culture ruined, and now with the death of one of the Covenant leaders, the Covenant needs someone to blame, so why not use the elites as a scapegoat? The elites held the title of protectors of the hierarchs, and with Regret's death, they are now being replaced with these apes called the Brutes. The sorrow and embarrassment the Arbiter must be feeling seeing his proud race stamped further into the mud on top of his own situation must be too much to bear. But he has no time to sit in his feelings, as he is dispatched almost immediately to go get the activation index for the new Halo. If you remember from my previous video, indexes are the keys to activate Halo as a galaxy-wide explosive, and they're kept in places called libraries. This place can definitely become quite a slog, but the quarantine zone is fun in the sense of facing all odds with your elite brothers, using Covenant vehicles and weapons, and later in this section seeing Arbiter use human weapons is kind of funny. As we approach the index, we find out the humans got to it first, and before we could really give them the beatdown, Tartarus, the evil monkey guy, shows up to kill us by orders of the hierarchs themselves, which, I won't lie, it doesn't seem to have any purpose, but we will get to it later because it's kind of a bigger picture thing down the road. Our 2 characters are introduced to each other in the clutches of the Gravemind. I like the Gravemind. I've said it many times, I dig body horror, I love fleshy monsters and creatures, and the Gravemind is right up my alley. The Gravemind is basically the collective consciousness of the Flood, a sort of central computer of sorts that controls the Horde and guides it along a pathway to galactic consumption. He explains to Arbiter the true nature of the rings and tasks each one of the characters with stopping the Covenant from activating Halo. Despite all 3 being mortal enemies, nothing quite turns enemies to friends more than stopping mutual extinction. I don't really know how to articulate this quick point here, but I feel like something was lost narratively when Bungie decided to give players a means to communicate with the Flood. Part of the charm of the Flood was that they were an unknowable killing swarm with one primal focus of eating everything. Giving this eldritch threat a voice and reasoning, the ability to negotiate and give orders just kind of cuts a bit of the horror the Flood possessed. Now you're fighting a thing, not a concept. Even though that there are dramatic differences between the humans, Covenant, and the Flood, now you've brought the Flood just a little bit closer to having stuff in common with the other 2 factions, and it kind of lightens some of the narrative weight that could have been left alone or built upon. To further explain what I mean, let me ask you this. Why do the Covenant have infantry drop pods? Doesn't it kill some of the impressiveness of the humans' ODSTs? Remember earlier I mentioned that I don't like the Spectre. This is why. I believe that when you start making the 3 factions have similar capabilities, actions, and reasonings, they just start to be different colored versions of each other. So let the Flood be primal monsters born with the purpose to eat, and not something to negotiate and conversate with. Let me know in the comments if I made any sense there. Moving on, the Gravemind teleports Master Chief into the Prophet's broadcasting chamber inside of the holy city of High Charity. Oh my god, these names are awesome, dude. Master Chief does what he does best while the Prophets try to escape. During this encounter, the in amber clad exits slipspace directly into the dome of the city and crashes into a support column right in front of us. The reasoning this happens is because at some random point you don't see, the Amberclad gets taken over by the Flood, and now the Flood are in the city, and it's feeding time. One of the first victims is actually the Prophet of Mercy, who Truth allows to die. A lot of narrative beats are happening at the exact same time, but long story short, Truth no longer needs mercy. And saying that out loud makes me wonder if there's some sort of symbolic meaning behind that. Truth literally can't exact mercy on any living thing, as he will soon be executioner of the entire galaxy because he found out about the Ark, the creation ground of the rings, where he will be safe as the universe burns. He will be king of nothing, but we will get more into that in my Halo 3 video. For now, all we need to know is that the Master Chief is in the ship that the Prophet is escaping with. Before moving ahead with the Arbiter, just take a quick sec and look at the city of High Charity. Stupid little interruption, I know, but this is one of the few outlets I have to tell people about the things I love, and I love this view. Now's probably a good time to hit that like and subscribe button, by the way. You've made it this far into the video, haven't you? The Gravemind teleports the Arbiter to Halo's control room, where he is greeted with the Great Schism. The Brutes have betrayed the Elites, and the Prophets have allowed the genocide to take place. Here, Arbiter gathers the scattered forces of his brothers, freeing them from holding cells, to launch an assault on the control room. You even get to join up with hunters at one point, and it is so nice to hear the cannons firing on your enemies instead of your allies. You free this dope looking elite from a holding cell, and after looking at the lore of this type of elite, he is a High Counselor, basically the highest of the high under the Covenant's control of the elites. And if you recall from the cutscenes at the beginning of the game, the counselors wanted the Arbiter killed for his so-called sins. Yet, here the Arbiter is offering mercy and forgiveness to a brother who, not long ago, wanted him killed ritualistically. While the Prophet's control slips and the pillars of their society are being dismantled, abandoning their morals and ethics along the way, the elites are reforming their old militaristic ways that is in their nature. The Arbiter once again stands so tall and proud, freed from the Covenant's control, as even a counselor bends to his command. The only issue that undermines this whole schism conflict is, why is it even happening in the first place? Surely the Prophets would have been better off to stay in control of the most advanced and skillful race they've ever conquered? Is it because a small faction had gained religious freedom and dissented? Or was Arbiter's failure to protect the first Halo such a blow to the Covenant that the entirety of the race needed to be genocided to keep up the religious facade? Either way, the Arbiter faces down the business end of many rampaging brutes, and we gotta take them out to go kill Tartarus, the evil monkey guy, before he activates the ring. Which I guess the Prophet of Truth had no faith in, because he seems to have abandoned him to get to the Ark. Which, by the way, the portal to the Ark is on Earth. We'll cover it all in the next video, but the back end of Halo 2 is extremely lore heavy and hard to follow when you really start looking at the big picture of everything. Zooming back into the small picture, on our way to the control room, we stumble upon the coolest human in the galaxy wielding the coolest weapons platform in the galaxy. That's right, it's Sergeant Johnson, and he's offering a truce between the humans and the elites, provided they work together to kill the evil monkey guy, you know, Tartarus. In doing so, Johnson drives a Scarab, the giant beetle-looking tank that shredded his forces a few chapters ago, and uses it to punch a hole into the final boss fight. Before we jump into the final boss fight, you gotta let me gush about Sergeant Johnson. This man has been through arguably the same amount of combat and existential horror as Master Chief, and is handling it all with a smile on his face and a cigar in his mouth. His lines are all pure gold, and he's a Covenant killing machine. Yet, when all is hitting the fan, he still knows when to hold back and negotiate a truce. In a different timeline, I could foresee Johnson being the Arbiter, and I mean the true meaning behind it, not the Covenant disgraced Arbiter. He's a proud warrior, able to lead a battlefield and rally troops even when they're on the brink of deserting. The scene on the bridge in New Mombasa showed him scolding a trooper who lost all morale, but funny enough, he does it in almost a compassionate way, in a twisted sort of viewpoint, all before delivering us a tank. I really love his character, and I'm so glad that nothing bad will ever happen to him ever. Well, it's here, the ending boss fight. A climactic skirmish between the elites who have suffered so much disgrace versus those who sought to end their race, the brutes. Well, it's a lot less of that and more of an entire squadron of elites needlessly throwing themselves at Tartarus while Johnson clearly explains out loud that his shields need to be taken down by sniper shots first before any damage can be done. Oh well, rest in peace I suppose. Thanks for the ammunition and energy swords. I won't repeat what I said previously, it's an okay boss fight, but it just kind of feels out of place and a little anticlimactic when other options surely could have been more fun. However, it does the job, and we have beaten Halo 2. I haven't spoken about the multiplayer, and I'm not going to, as I was only 8 years old at the time. By the time I was old enough to care about playing with people, Halo 3 and Reach were out, and growing up in a religious household, I wasn't even able to enjoy the single player aspect of these games openly in the house once my dad left around 2009. So even then, Halo multiplayer wasn't in my life at that time. I've heard great things though. As I said in my previous video, everyone and their brother loved playing together, and I got to watch my brothers play when we had the chance. The Master Chief collection has some multiplayer components, and I tried to play, but I got bored easily as none of my friends own it to play with me. I went to go buy it for my brother when the Master Chief collection was on sale for $10, but then Hurricane Barrel destroyed my life for about a week and a half, and when I finally got power back, the sale ended. Oh well. I love Halo. I know this sounds silly to say about a mega corporation's product who only wants my money, but this particular product taps into my primal male spirit, and speaking about it to people who care brings me a type of joy that I can't put to words. The developers cared, and I'm happily a consumer. The greatest soundtrack that exposed millions of impressionable kids to Breaking Benjamin, who I still listen to 20 years later, one of the cleanest and most unique art styles, and characters who are so lovable and hateable, written with consistency and purpose. There's so much to love about Halo that I encourage you to grab a copy and hop on. I'm going to be streaming as much of Halo 3 as my 2-year-old will let me here on YouTube, and yes, I'm probably abandoning Kick. With Halo 3, we're going to jump into more lore and story beats and really dissect Halo. Afterwards, I have ODST, Reach, and Halo Wars on my schedule too, with many other franchises and titles between here and there, barring another natural disaster flipping my life upside down. Do you have any suggestions for games I should play and talk about? Let me know down below. Of course, please hit that like and subscribe. I've been Ropeburn, and I'll see y'all in the next one.